family,
Yeah.
as all divorces are and all separations. And I had 2 children. I was then 26 years old, 27. I had dissatisfied with the work I was doing. I had started my own business and realized as I was doing it, it wasn't the Hollanders that was the problem. It was the work. It was what I was doing. And I had no idea. Wandered over to the village. And my wife just happened to wander, my wife-to-be, Barbara, just happened to wander into a bar called Louie's in Sheridan Square. Took one look and said, that's for me, I guess, and that was that. And we've been together 4 years now.
Huh.
She was a filmmaker. And I knew films are a culture now. It's everything on everybody's head. But then it was something so special and something apart. And to be a woman in filmmaking just didn't exist. And to be a woman in filmmaking in New York was another didn't. She was great at what she was doing. And it caught fire, and I was looking for something, and she set me up in it. And when you have somebody who's better than you are at what you do, you
So what kind of films were you making?
Watching your rear end, you come out pretty good. And it was a great career.
What kind of films were you making?
Everything from documentaries and industrials to, I worked on features. They weren't my own feature, but I did Sweet Smell of Success for 3 or 4 months, Hill, Lancaster. I became a Screen Directors Guild member and spent 3 or 4 years directing. We ended up with our own company making, that's what we wanted the most. And we made 2 or 3 films a year, and it was very good, Barbie and I together. Meanwhile, we had 3 kids together, and so it's a family of 5 children. And
so your kids from your first marriage, did they come to live with you?
While we were in films, we saw them a lot, but not then. Later on, and it's a little ahead of the story, when I give up all those films and I become a painter.
Yeah.
We're off to Spain, and that's when the children joined us.
Before we get to that point, did you suffer any psychological effects from your combat experience when you first got back?
Well, the tunnel thing, perhaps, but not there again. It's so minor that it's not even countable. I mean, if I then went into a tunnel, or even now, I still had the same kind of a thing.
Yeah.
You all of a sudden break into a little sweat and whatnot, but no big deal. And you learn to overcome it, and that's it. But other than that, nothing.
Yeah.
War is horrible. But there was never any question of the worthwhileness of this particular war. And I don't think it was on very many people's mind. They were conscientious objectors, and I can understand it, and I wasn't one at the time. I'd almost join it now, but anyway, no, I didn't suffer. If anything, it gave me the wherewithal, the inner strength to do many things that perhaps I wouldn't have done with this advantageous training that I had, but not reality. This was reality, and gave me a lot of confidence.
Yeah, that's the term that just came to mind, that it must have given you a tremendous amount of self-confidence.
Well, that trip that I mentioned of the trek over from those 50 miles is the hardest thing I've ever been involved in. I mean, there was nothing overseas, including staying in a foxhole with bombardments happening and all the things that would happen in one, came even close. And surely nothing in civilian life that ever came close. And I've done a lot of things in the way of personal, touching wilderness. Lots of us do it in our own way. I did it later in life, in the last 15 years that I've been in Aspen. And hairy, but not of that category.
Yeah.
That just gives you the ability to know that you can go through things more than you think you can.
Yeah. So let's move then to when you went over to Spain? That was early 60s?
Well, I met Barbara. Barbara and I met in '53, and by '54 I was heavily into filmmaking. She had gotten me a place as a assistant on what was the first television was just sort of starting. We're very early. It was the first long series, a thing called Wanted. And I went 6 months out on the road, and in being this assistant, but hadn't been through a lot of things, I soaked up everything in those 6 months of everybody I was watching, and I came back a fairly accomplished film person and with the guts to go on. From the next job after that was going to the North Pole,